that shames one half of the population for their natural impulses. No one should be shamed for how they feel. Shamed for how they behave is a different matter.
I was hoping to speak about toxic masculinity, and it feels as though sometimes any kind of traditional or established male trait, even bravery or risk-taking, can get caught up in a catch-all term of being, toxic behavior. How worried are you? You mentioned, you've got a 14-year-old son, I've got a 2-year-old little boy. How
Oh,
how worried are you about the world in which young boys and young men are growing up being told that their natural behaviors are toxic, and which could obviously lead to suppressing certain behaviors, them being confused about their feelings, their emotions? How big an issue is it with toxic masculinity as a concept affecting young men?
I think it's a huge issue, and I think it's such an important issue that that's what my next book is going to focus on, because I think the logical consequence for me of diving really deep into male-female differences, but mostly what the sort of biological forces that shape men, and understanding what happens when we change our testosterone levels, that has taught me that, first of all, anyone could have been born male. It's easy for women to judge men's behavior and challenges. And of course, some of it should definitely be judged as unacceptable, whatever, there's plenty of behavior that's unacceptable, but there has to be an understanding that men face different challenges socially than women do because of their biology. And if there is only stigmatizing of masculinity and the natural urges that men and young men in particular in puberty say are facing, if there's only negative judgment, if there's shame about sexual urges or risk taking or any of the things that women don't feel maybe as strongly, that is stigmatizing, that shames one half of the population for their natural impulses. No one should be shamed for how they feel. Shamed for how they behave is a different matter. But feelings and becoming a man, I think should be celebrated the same way becoming a woman is celebrated. It's wonderful. And if you have a high sex drive, can be, a gift. You have to culturally have the support to learn how to channel those drives. And men also need to be acknowledged for the things that I was talking about earlier. Like, men are the ones who are risking their lives for the most part to save the lives of strangers. And women typically aren't doing that. Some women do, but men do that routinely. And that's something that needs to be acknowledged and not taken for granted. That is the flip side of having a higher preference, say, for risk taking and for a kind of physical bravery that benefits. It's not just physical bravery in like a bar fight or in men just killing men over jealousy or something. It's a physical bravery that we all also benefit from, and that also has to be acknowledged. And we see that all the time in the news. If you just read what's going on in the world, there are so many instances of men dying trying to save others. And I'd like to hear more about that kind of thing in the news. So
It's so fascinating because the whole toxic masculinity movement and may potentially alienating young boys, driving them towards social media influencers who are promoting misogyny and other views. I think you so easily can get caught in this vicious cycle of trying to tell boys what they're doing is wrong. They don't know their place in the world. It's driving them towards people who can try and tell them what their place is, and then you can just recreate this awful, ugly kind of underground almost social media cult
yeah.
where boys are getting even more confused about their role.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I have a lot of work to do to try to figure out what, you know, we culture as a culture can do to better support boys. But this is something that, you know, historically and even in deep history, a lot of cultures have recognized that there has to be strong cultural norms to kind of channel in a positive way that masculine energy. And I think that's super, super important. And that requires us to be able to talk about it, to do research and talk about it honestly in a way that doesn't result in people just saying, well, you're legitimizing bad male behavior. That's not what it is at all. And if we have to be able to talk about, again, what the implications of biological differences are.